From the studios of the Pemberton Township Board of Education's Channel 14, it's time to find out what's cooking. Here now is the head of the Food Services Department at Pemberton Township High School and your host, Tim Paroli.
Hello again. Welcome to another edition of What's Cooking. I'm Tim Paroli. Today we're going to show you some basic preparation of food that many of us eat when we're at a party. It's kind of a fancy dish in one way, but it's very plain in another. It's very plain in that the steps to prepare it are very basic. And we're going to teach you those today, hopefully show you how to make a boneless chicken breast with supreme sauce. What we're going to do is make a basic bread stuffing for this, and the ingredients that you're going to need are a chicken. Today we're going to use a whole chicken and show you how to break it down. Some leftover bread, an onion, celery, a little bit of poultry seasoning, some stock, a little bit of flour and butter. And out of all those ingredients, we are going to prepare the chicken. And we're going to show you today by beginning with an entire chicken. We try to show you in the program ways that you can cut corners in the kitchen. And since you're in the kitchen working anyway, we are also going to try and save you some bucks. So what we do, instead of purchasing already cut up portions of chicken, which are double the price per pound, we are going to begin with the whole chicken. And if you've watched a program before, you know that one of the byproducts, after we're done butchering the chicken for the purpose that we want today, we will boil it off and we will end up with a byproduct right here called chicken stock. And we're going to use that today as the sauce base, and we're going to use it in the stuffing also. So you're going to get a couple of things out of this instead of just paying for the one product that you get. So we're going to begin today by breaking down a whole chicken. And most of you who have been watching the program, we try to teach you to learn how to handle just your kitchen knife or a French knife. So what we're going to do today is show you the parts of the chicken, and we're going to teach you what and where they are. The chicken is laying on its back right now, and these are the legs. Yeah, like you didn't know that, right? Here's the wings. However, we have a problem, some of us, with telling the back from the front. The back of the chicken is very bony, and there's no meat underneath that. The neck will also be sticking out. It'll be right there, and the chicken will have a tail, although not always. If you're buying a bulk chicken, sometimes the tails are missing on them, but if you're buying a decent grade chicken, it's going to be very easy to identify. So we have the tail end, the head end, and we have the breast portion here, which on a previous program we have shown you it's triangular in shape. So there it is. And that's what we're going to remove today. But we're going to disjoint and take this whole chicken apart. So you have the chicken in front of you. A couple of safety points for you to watch is never cut towards yourself. Remember, if you ruin the chicken, you can always get another chicken, but we may not be able to get another you. So I don't want you cutting towards yourself, and I want to make sure that you know all the parts of the chicken. So we have the chicken laying away from us with the legs facing us. Now we're going to grab a hold of one of the legs of the chicken, and I use the knife to pull away from the chicken. So I hold the leg and I use the knife, and all we're going to cut right there is that skin portion. And we're just going to separate that so we can see that, just like that. Now once you have that, you're going to hang on to your knife here. We're going to use the knife and just bend the leg back. And once we have that leg bent back, we're just going to pull up on the leg, push down with the knife, and pull the leg right off. And we have the leg is already off, and we're going to save them for something later on. We're going to do that again on the other side. So if you're right or left-handed, do the side that is easiest for you. Once you know how to do it, then you can go back, because this will be a switch side for you. Again, I'm reaching across, so I'm pulling one way and cutting away from my hand. I cut through the skin, turn the leg over, just poke that little bone out right there, and I just cut down with the knife and then stop and pull that leg right off of there. And we have the legs off the chicken. And it's just as simple as I've shown you. And if you're worried about working on turkeys or ducks, once you've mastered how to handle chickens, they're all basically the same. So we're going to now split the skin on this chicken right down the center. Now, on other programs, we've shown you where the first thing that we do is remove the skin. We're going to leave the skin on this one today. The skin can come off at the time that you're going to serve this, but the presentation of it is nice with the skin on it. Again, I'm using the same method. I'm pulling on the portion of the chicken that I want, and I'm cutting against the bone with the knife, and always away from myself. And then we're just turning that around. You'll see the little shoulder joint there. You can just cut straight through that, and you'll have that removed. Now what we'll have is the chicken breast portion right here with the wing attached to it. And these are tough to purchase. If you were buying these for a party, you would have to order them and they would custom cut them for you. And all that means is you're going to have to pay more to get them the way you want. If you're doing these yourself, you're going to be able to custom cut them yourself and get the chickens just the way you'd like to have them. Now we're going to the other side now, just staying against the bone and pulling the meat away with the one hand and cutting away against the chicken with the knife. And they do come off just that easy. And just keep cutting right on down. Then all I have now is the carcass of the chicken, which we will boil off and use for stock. Now I have the boneless breast with the wing attached, and what I'm going to do is, if you look at the wing joint, you can count from the wing tip, then we have the first joint, the second joint. So we're going to go right on in there and cut that. So I have the wing piece that we're going to take away. Now, we have our chicken breast with the first joint on it. And that's what I want, because they are going to be different from anything that you will purchase anywhere else. And you're going to do these yourself, so you want them to look different. So now we have our chicken breasts all ready to be stuffed. So I'm going to put them back on our plate with the legs. You've already got a cut up chicken, which is going to cost considerably more than what we spent in a couple of minutes. So we have our chicken all cut up. I'm putting that over here on the side. We're going to have a bowl ready to mix a little bit of stuffing in it. And the stuffing is very, very simple. First of all, you have a little bit of bread that you haven't eaten. I don't know if you've heard that, when you go in to eat bread, you pass through the first 4 slices and take the middle. Well, now I'm going to show you what those first 4 slices are good for. We have the slices of bread. We take our knife and we're going to just cut them about a 1/2 inch wide. And we're going to cut right down the bread, 1/2 inch wide. Then we're going to turn those little slices of bread now, and we're going to cut them again the other way, 1/2 inch again. And that's a 1/2 inch dice, because now the cubes of bread are exactly that. They're bread cubes. And that's how you can cut bread for croutons. So we're going to throw them in there. I'm going to cut a couple more for you. We want the bread to be fairly uniform in size. I don't want it so big that all you're going to get is a chunk of bread with none of the seasoning in it. The end of the bread, I'm going to put the end side down so that when we cut through there, the crispy crust will be against the board and it will cut very easily, just like that. Then I'm going to turn them again and we're going to cut them the other way. And that's how you cut bread for croutons too. So now you know how to do that. 1/2 inch cubes. Real simple. This, by the way, is faster than the commercial preparations where you add water and stir. And you're going to use up ingredients in your home that maybe you've been throwing away. So we're going to save you some money, we're going to save you some time, and you're going to have a better tasting item on the table. And that's what we're after. Now we're going to take an onion. Boy, we cut a lot of onions on this show. All right, so we cut both ends off of that onion. We're going to remove those and get them out of the way. And that's another thing you want to continually do while you're working, is make sure you have the entire board to work on. Keep everything off of the board except for what you're working on, so that you're not down to one little tiny corner of the board. If you look at that onion now, we're going to split that in half. And I'm only going to need about 1/2 an onion, so I'm not going to peel the first half. We'll reserve that for later. Get the skins off of there, and then we're going to peel this side down. Now, the secret to a good dressing or stuffing, and the only difference is if it's put under the bird or in the bird, it's a stuffing. If it's a dressing, it's been made on the top of the stove or baked in a pan, is that we cut everything nice and small. So we take our onion, and we're going to cut that onion sideways, just once or twice. Just like that, nothing real fancy. Then we're going to cut it almost all the way through. And I'm cutting them close. If you cut them a little larger, it's not going to hurt. But if you can't cut them too close or too small. So small is what we're after here. Then I'm going to turn the onion just like we did the bread. We made our long cuts first, then we're going to make our small cuts. And that onion will be minced as it comes off of there, just like that. So you've got some minced onion, and it's very easy to do. Now, what if you have a lot to do and you don't want to go real close to the end of the knife? What you do is you will cut a couple of onions, because the other half of the onion you can always use for slices. Now we go over that once, twice, we're all set, and that goes into our bowl for our stuffing. And now we take the bowl back away. The next ingredient that we're going to put in here is a little bit of celery. We're going to get rid of those ends. They can be thrown in the stock pot, so can the bottom end, and they will be cooked off with the chicken carcass to produce the chicken stock. Then we're going to take the celery and we're going to cut it into long, thin strips. And cut them a little thinner than you would do for like a celery stick. If you were going to have a celery stick, that's about how thick you would do it. Half that again before you make any other cross cuts on it. Cut them long and thin. Get them real thin. Okay, so we get them all nice and thin. I'm going to cut that other stalk. And remember, make all these long cuts first. You're going to see that by making these long cuts first and making them nice and thin, what's going to happen when I cross-cut this celery, that's going to be it. We're not going to have to recut it or cross back over it. It's going to just be all nice and small, and that's how we want this to be. So we take our celery, and if the whole bunch of it like that is too much, halve it so that you can learn to handle the amount of celery. As you get better, you'll handle more. Your knife will rock. You don't have to lift the knife off the board, and you're going to set your hand. There's the thumb. Put the thumb over and behind the rest of your fingers. So you want to put both fingers down there, and that's what the knife will rest on. And we're going to just rock the knife and gently slide the celery under the knife. And you can go nice and slow like that and get it nice and small. And as you learn to do that, pretty soon you will go a lot faster, and you'll have celery cut. But if you make these long cuts first, you are going to find out that there it is, already cut nice and small. And all we did was go one way and then the other way, and that's the trick to that. That's how we can get that so small. Why do we want this so small? Because these are going to be put into individual chicken breasts that are going to cook very quickly. So we don't need them cut real big. We want these to be finished by the time the chicken breast is done. And any of the flavor from these vegetables is going to be right in there. So that's what we want. So we put our celery in there. And then all we're going to do is season this with a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic, and sage. And when we come back, we're going to show you how to mix it and how to stuff them. And on the break, while I'm cleaning up, I'll put one in the oven so you can see how they look when they're done. So while I'm cleaning up, I'd like you folks at home to watch this.
Your approach is looking good, Cobra.
The men and women in the National Guard and Reserve face some tough challenges when they serve. Challenges that teach them discipline, leadership, and technical skills that make them better employees. So when they need time off to serve, don't make their toughest challenge approaching you.
Welcome back. What we have done for you is we've put some of the stuffing on one of our little plates and covered it with one of our prepared chicken breasts. And that is over in the oven right now. And that's been in the oven maybe 3 minutes. Already the chicken breast has turned color and it's turning lighter. And as I told you before, we're leaving the skin on it for the presentation. So we're going to let that continue to cook while we show you another way to prepare the other chicken breast so that you have two ways to do this. Now what I'm going to do is put a saute pan on the fire. We're going to make a chicken breast saute, and we're going to show you how that can be done if you wanted to make the dressing on the top of the stove. Now what I have here is our little bowl, and as we were going away, all I did was add our chicken stock to this and give this a little stir. And that's all you have to do with this. That's nothing fancier than that. And this particular stuffing or dressing, we didn't add any eggs to that. Because we're using a fresh bread, and because we put this under the chicken breast, when this cooks, it's going to be just fine. It's going to hold together real nice. It's going to have a nice consistency and a very light flavor. And because we didn't add any eggs to it, and we didn't saute the vegetables first, we didn't have any extra added fat to that. So it's kind of a low-cal stuffing. So if you wanted to put this on a pan or in a roasting pan, you would spray or oil the pan lightly, put the dressing in it, and spray the top with pan spray. That will keep the top so it browns nice and even, and it will keep it from getting tough. So the little bit of pan spray is the only fat that you would add to that. Now, we want to get back to this chicken breast. Remember, I told you that we had another way to prepare this. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave the skin on. Remember, a lot of the ones we do, we usually take them off. We're going to leave the skin on this one. We're going to turn this breast over, so now it is skin side down. We're going to remove the chicken fillet from that so that it flattens right out. And these can be breaded or baked off and cooked. We've shown you how to do them on other programs. And since we're going to saute this, we're going to hammer this out a little bit to flatten out the breast, to break up the muscle and the tissues so that we know it's going to be tender. Okay, now I'm going to turn that over. We're going to put the meat side down, and I'm even going to hit the skin. So we're going to hit the skin side till that is perfectly flat and level. Now, the reason that we did that is so that when this end is cooked, this end will also be cooked. So that's what we wanted to do to that. We're going to put that in a little bit of flour. And we're not going to put much up on the wing part. So there we have that set aside. And as always, we have some spice that we use pretty regular, and it's salt and pepper, and we have a little bit of garlic powder. And I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil today. However, we will fatten the sauce up for this. So those of you who like the taste of the butter and all, don't despair. So we put a little bit of oil in there. And remember, the pan was on the fire, so I've got a nice hot pan. What you want to do is heat the pan up first without the oil in it, add the oil to it, and then roll the pan around gently to distribute the heat throughout the pan. Now we're going to take the chicken breast, and we're going to hold it by the wing joint, and we're going to put the meat side down. In other words, the skin side is going to stay up facing us. And we're going to lay that into the pan, and I'm going to drop it away from me, so if any oil splashes, it won't come near me. All right, so that chicken breast goes right in there, and that's cooking immediately. Now, what I'm going to do in the other pan that we have, there's no fire under here, we're going to prepare our sauce in this one. So I'm going to get ready by putting in a little bit of butter in that pan. Again, wherever I have butter, you can substitute the oils or olive oil or anything other fat that you want to do that might be a little better for whatever diet you happen to be using. That's what's so nice when you're preparing your own dinner and you're preparing your own meats at home. You have total control over how that's going to be. So that's cooking up around the side. I'm going to just give this saute pan a little shake, and the reason for that is so that we know the chicken breast is not sticking. All right, so that's what we've done there. And as this cooks, that wing joint is going to stick right up. So that's going to be a different effect on the plate, and that's what we're after. We're tired of the same old stuff on the plates all the time. Give us a clean area to work with here. I can scrape the board with the knife if I want, because I am the one that has to keep them sharp. If you have trouble with your knife, use the back of the knife to scrape your board, and then you don't have to worry about dulling your knife. All right, that is just about ready. And tongs are nice to turn these over because you can get a nice firm grip on it. You can step away, and you can lay that right back in there. And look how nice and brown that is already. And now I'm going to roll that around, and that's done. And that goes right out of the way, and I'm going to let the heat from the pan and the oil finish cooking that. And what's popping in there is the water and the chicken fat that's in the skin. That's all going to sizzle out of there, and that's what we want to have happen. But that's also going to add a lot of flavor to our chicken breast. Now, we have another pan on the fire. I have some chicken stock here. Right behind me, I have a little bit of milk. Supreme sauce traditionally is a really enriched and heavy chicken gravy is all that it is. And you can make it more rich by using light cream and even heavy cream at the end. However, for a sauce like that, I will add a little bit of whole milk to it just to enrich it. You don't need to always have heavy cream or any of those extra fats added. You have butter in here, that's going to be more than enough fat for the whole meal. And that's going to be on the sauce itself. Now the butter is melted. Now I'm going to lower this fire just a little bit. And we're going to shake a little bit of flour in here to absorb the butter. And this is a great way to start to learn how to make a roux. And a roux is all it is this flour and this fat mixture in the pan. You're going to cook that for a minute or two, depending upon how hot you have it. There we go. And then we're going to pour the stock into that thickener. Pour it right in there, the amount you think you're going to want. It'll cloud up at first, which is fine. You continue to stir it until you have all of that roux dissolved in there. All the lumps will be gone. There we go. And then you continue to stir that. Now we're going to put a pinch of white pepper in there. And if you look at the sauce, you won't even see it going in there. So you'll know why we use white pepper. Okay, the white pepper goes right in there. We're going to lower that just a little bit more. So I want this to cook nice and easy. We don't want to... Now, as that thickens, if the consistency of this is a little too thick, you just stir in a little more of that stock. But wait for it to boil. As soon as it boils, then you just stir in a little bit more. Just like that. Wait for it to boil again and see how the consistency is. So what I'm mainly after the first time that you make this is how it looks. We want this to look like a supreme sauce. Now, once we have it looking that way, we're going to add a little bit of milk here. And this should be nice and light in color. And you see we have that nice light color. And once you have that light color and you have that nice smooth look to your sauce, the only thing left to it now is to make sure that we have the taste right. So we give that a stir, and we'll see how we are for seasoning. And then we'll talk about how to get this seasoning just right. All right, when we make, you can tell it's not perfect right away. What we want to do when we make a stock from the chicken carcass that we've boiled off, we didn't put any salt in there. So this is going to need salt. However, before I want to even add salt to it, I like to enrich the taste and bring a more robust flavor out of this sauce. I'm going to continue to stir this, by the way, until we have this completely to a good hard boil and it's nice and smooth. What I will add to that, instead of salt, we can add to this a crushed up half of a bouillon cube, or if you have seen them in the store, a little can or a jar of a product called base. And all that is a liquefied type of a bouillon cube that has very little salt to it. The better the base, the less salt it's going to have. And this also has, when you look at the ingredients, it's going to have a list of spices that you've probably heard of and haven't had in your cabinet since you were first got started. You bought spices and you maybe never used them. Cardamom and a lot of the different very light yellow spices. So they're going to bring out all the flavor of the chicken, and it's going to really bring out the flavor of that sauce. There, now that has come up to a real nice boil. And I'm going to just move that out of our way. Got a real nice looking sauce there. Now, this chicken is cooked all the way. This one little part here, I want to just give that a little more heat. However, I'm turning this over. The color of the skin is going to be a bright yellow. It comes up really brilliant. So we don't have a plain looking chicken breast anymore. We've got that little bit of skin on there, and that basted that fillet of chicken with the fat over top of it, and that's going to give us a real nice look to it. Remember, not everybody is going to remove the skin, or not everybody is going to enjoy chicken without the skin on it. So you can serve this, and if someone doesn't want it, they can remove 1/3 of the fat from their diet just by taking the skin off. I'd like to pull our stuffed chicken out, because in this amount of time it is now done. We're going to go take that out of the oven. And I'm going to take a spatula to remove that. The nice thing about these is that everything that we used today, nothing was frozen. And because nothing was frozen, we didn't have to wait for anything to defrost. We didn't have to wait for it to defrost. It's not going to have a different kind of a taste to it. The food is going to have its own fresh, distinctive flavor. And that's what we're after. So I'm going to loosen this chicken breast from the pan. And look at the size of that. I mean, that's from a regular little frying chicken. That's nothing. I didn't have one of those great big roasting chickens. That's just a regular frying chicken, 2.5 to 3 pounds. And it makes a real nice portion on a plate. So the other breast that's now done, I'm going to just stick that into the wing joint there, and we're going to drain that a little bit. Now that's drained. We set that on our plate. And now we're going to go back after our supreme sauce, which had a chance to rest a little bit. If you've got a real nice gravy boat at home, they're called a gooseneck. When you make the sauce like this, you can make the sauce ahead of time and put it into one of your porcelain or china gravy boats, and then put a little saran wrap over top of it, and that sauce will keep warm for up to a half hour. If you're going to keep it longer than that, or you're going to want to refrigerate it, you can refrigerate it right in the gravy boat, and when it's time to bring it to the table, pop that right in the microwave, and you've got your own gravy hot and ready to go. So if you're worried about timing, getting the sauce done when the chicken's done, you can make the sauce ahead of time, put that in the refrigerator or have it warm on the stove, and you can just pop it right into the microwave. And look how nice that's going to coat these. And when you have a nice sauce that's got a nice, we're going to go right on around the wing there, a nice consistency to it, you don't need a whole lot of it. And it's going to coat that, and it's going to have a real nice shine to it. Now this one, since we want to show off that we have the skin there, we pick that one up, and the sauce on this one just goes underneath it. And we place that one right into a puddle of sauce. And we have prepared a couple of dishes that we've controlled everything from the amount of fat to the type of meat, and we even prepared the portion size that we wanted. These are also very nice that you can either freeze them or cook them and freeze them. So next time you're at a wedding and they're going to serve you chicken breast, let me know if it's as good as the one you made here today. Thank you for watching.